something beautiful is on its way to you. This is the experience of a lifetime, my dear friend. You want to give yourself this at all costs to your ego, your pride, and your fears. Love, it's everywhere. It's beautiful. It lives within. It doesn't need to be created. It is already there for you. We've hiked down 3 canyons, and here we are. Let's shoot it, baby. I feel the funky chicken, the funky Messiah. Yes! Search for yourself on your own. Go within yourself. Find it within your breath, within your very spirit.
Mrs. Nixon is done.
Now I want to do a little magic trick. A spiritual path brings us to a place in our life where we discover the diamond and we learn how to pull it out of the mud. It's all very interesting. This will be the most difficult lesson in this series on entering the fires. We're going to be working on probably the single most fascinating of all, the mind. Students come and they want to learn how to meditate. And we are under the idea in the beginning stages of our meditations that we're here to get our thoughts out of our mind. Students think that if they have no thoughts whatsoever, that they are meditating. That is not meditation. You'll never get your thoughts out of your mind at all. That's not what this work is about. It's more about your relationship with those thoughts. Now, when you understand the relationship of you and your own thoughts to your mind, you have begun to understand something extremely meaningful. Where'd you get this mind of yours? Where'd you get it? This mind that holds on to thoughts, that contains thoughts. Where did it come from in you? It's really something of your parents, your mother, your father. They built your psychology. They shared their psychology with you and said, this is the container for the rest of your life that you're going to live under. This is what's going to be funny to you. This is what's going to be serious. This is what's going to be right. This is what's going to be wrong. This is what's going to hurt you. This is what's going to set you free. And from there, your thoughts live you. You're not living your life, you're living thoughts that are living you. They're not even your thoughts. They can be thoughts of a teacher, thoughts of a friend, thoughts of your mother and father, thoughts about what is right and wrong, good and bad. And before you know it, you're not living your life at all. In fact, most people are under the delusion that they're living their life until silence, real authentic silence, has touched our lives. Until we are willing to let life live us through silence. We're just going through the motions of our living. It would be like eating the scraps of other people's food. That's the way we live. Our mind is always telling us good, bad, right, wrong. This is funny, this isn't. Under the context of a mind that is very serious. And I say a serious mind is the source of all pain and suffering. And that's why we suffer the things we do. When we are doing meditation, we are simply beginning to look at our relationship with our own thoughts. We are beginning to understand what that relationship is really all about. We're beginning to see that our relationship with our thoughts and how we hold them, grab them, the ones that we cherish, the ones that we let go, how we have the stream of thought in our mind determines the quality of our life. If you look at your life, beyond money and beyond people, what kind of life do you have? If I were to take all of your money away from you, and all your possessions, and all the people, what would you have left in your life? What would be the quality of your life? Well, then you would see how your thoughts work. And that's what meditation does. It shows us the stream of our own thinking. And we have to begin to question that stream if we're going to do something profound in our own life. Meditation is simply not being attached to any thought. It is seeing my relationship with my thoughts and why I need that relationship to protect what it is that I am afraid of about myself. Those are fears that your mother and father gave to you many years ago. Your friends, your family, your culture, your society. And the more you looked at the way other people were living and thinking, the more you adopted it in your own life. Hence, your life is the way it appears to be. If you were to give up all of your thoughts, you'd still have a stream of thoughts going through. The question is, which thoughts would you choose to think? Buddha suggests this, that we master our mind, master our thoughts by no longer giving in to them anymore, by sitting in the cave of our heart and sitting in the wonder of our heart without any idea of right and wrong, good and bad, and we begin to touch the stream of consciousness. The stream of consciousness is much different than that of thinking. Thinking is about going from one extreme to another. The stream of consciousness is staying in the midst of nothingness, no thingness. And in that nothingness comes the quality of our life. And the quality of your life is not in what you think, it is in what you feel in love. When I'm doing retreats, meditation retreats with my students, we have one in the summer that is called Vipassana meditation. And it's a magic moment when a student in that time has what we call a satori. A satori is a brief moment of awakening when a person is no longer engaged in their thoughts. It's kind of like this brook. You hear the babbling brook. It has a language all of its own. And you can hear the language of nature and the language of this brook when there is no thought. What is no thought? It means no mind. And what is a no mind? Buddha said it beautifully. It is a mind no longer seeking to consider what is right and wrong, what is good and bad. That is a no mind. And when you hear the sound of this brook and the language that it is speaking, it is because you and I have achieved a moment of no mind, where we're no longer seeking to consider what is right and wrong, what is good and bad anymore. And then all of this that you see around me starts to have a language of its own. You can hear it, you can feel it. You're seated in the cave of your own heart, and you can feel something immense beyond your own thinking and reasoning power. It is the sound of one hand clapping. And you can hear it so deep in your heart and your soul that all of a sudden your life in that instant begins to change all on its own. You're not worried about circumstances and conditions changing in your environment or in your little world. You're seated in the cave of your heart, listening to nothing with all of your heart, your soul, and your strength, and all of a sudden, from out of nowhere, the immenseness of this whole experience begins, well, I don't want to say to make sense, but descend upon us, fill us up with a sense of bliss and beauty. Most people are not psychologically equipped for this. We have lived so long in the immensity of our own thoughts, in the burden of those thoughts, that we cannot even imagine letting them go. Here's the key. Spend time no longer seeking to consider what is good and bad, right and wrong. That is a clear mind, Buddha says. He is right. You know, it's easy to pick up a book about Buddha, read the Dhammapada. Oh, read any book about Buddha you like, the Diamond Sutra. You won't understand it because your mind is trying to gain knowledge through it. The simple mind, the beginner's mind, as Suzuki used to say, the beginner's mind that starts over and over again at the point, I know nothing, no thing, I know nothing. That is the most beautiful thing in our life. That is when all of life starts speaking to us. When you and I are trying to know something, a thing. We are giving it thought, we are giving it evaluation, we are giving it judgment. We are trying to catalog it in our thinking. Hence, we lose the very measure of nothingness. A meditative mind is simply a mind that has the stream of thoughts coming at it 24 hours a day. But we're not interested in those thoughts anymore. They don't play any kind of role in our life. They don't bring us to any particular conclusion about our living. And in doing so, we have tapped into awakening. We've gone through the fires of transformation. Now you have a new mind, a mind that is born again, so to speak. Not of the world and its values and not of its knowledge and its science, but more of its silence and its capability to bring you to God and to love. Meditation. It's not a popular idea in the West. In the West, we like to think. We're contemplators. We're not feelers. We don't feel what life is really all about. We don't even care about what life is all about. What we want is what we want out of life. You hear parents say, "What do you want out of life, son?" Or, "What do you want life to bring you, dear?" The child tries to create some kind of ambition and pride, some kind of, well, I want to get married, or I want to have a wife, or I want to have a job. And before you know it, they're planning out their life. The stream of thoughts are going. There's no room for anything new to happen in that life, and it's a constant flow of letting thoughts live us. The wise person is, as Buddha said, sitting in the cave of the heart, watching, not pondering, not judging, not analyzing, not even thinking, just allowing life to live them through their own heart.
Gregory has a talent for seeing where I am and then really getting me to explore what's happening. It's touched me very deeply. It's something that just tells me this is what my life is about, puts it right in front of my face, so then when I go home I can deal with it.
One of the most difficult aspects of human life is dealing with our anger. We are so adept to our anger that we don't even know it's there anymore. We use that energy unconsciously to live our life. It's the way we go about in our culture and our society with that attitude of being aggressive but passive aggressive. In a spiritual practice, the things that work in the world do not work in the practice. In fact, it's like stripping away some of our vulnerability to get to a place inside of us where we can start to feel our life again. When we were kids, when we were small, we were taught many things. One of the things that we were taught is to shove down our anger, and the next thing we were taught to keep that down is to swallow whatever it is we were feeling inside. Some people called it swallowing their pride. But what it really was doing is swallowing our anger. That doesn't go away with time. In fact, it just gets easier and easier to swallow our pain, our hurt, and our sorrow. This little meditation called Bin to Be will help you a little bit with that. In fact, it can be a real tool to help you let go of where the energy really is between the root chakra and the throat. We store all of our anger in the root chakra. That's why we like sex and violence in this culture. Do you remember the movie with Michael Douglas where the opening scene is a woman having sex with a man and she's stabbing him to death as she's having her orgasm? We like that kind of movie. It was shocking to us. But the thing that is most interesting is, it is where we keep our anger real low. What we're going to do in this meditation is we're going to bring the energy up and up and up to the throat chakra. This is where we swallow our pain. This is where we swallow our anger. And what she's going to do is drop her jaw. And as the energy comes out, she's just going to let it out with an ah. In fact, all of us are. Show them with the ah. Very good. So when we do this little practice, we're going to do it together. You can do this at home. I know it's ugly, it looks silly, ridiculous, but it works and it gets the anger up and out. You'll feel a little lighter after. It will help you with your anger to let go of it. All right, ready? We're going to take some deep breaths. Okay, and I want you to breathe into your root chakra. She's bringing into her lowest chakra. Now into the Hari, please, the belly button. And into the solar plexus. Now into the heart. Now into the throat and hold. Hold the breath. Now let it out. And back down to the root chakra. Breathe into the root chakra. To the Hari. Solar plexus. Heart chakra. Into the throat chakra. And hold. Now release. Really let it out. Again, root chakra. Bring up the energy. Hari. Solar plexus. Heart chakra. Throat. Hold and release. Really get it out. And release. Now, this meditation can be done, 5-10 minutes a day. It'll let up your garbage here. You'll start to have a different perspective about the anger you're holding, and you're going to have to ask yourself the question, is this anger worth me holding? Is it worth me using as my life energy? Is it worth it for me to feel this frustration? Let it out of your throat. Your throat holds the key. It's the gatekeeper to your anger. If you open up your throat and let the ugly tones and let the ugly immersion of energy out, you're going to feel a sense of release. You're going to feel a little sense of joy and happiness, and you can do some other powerful meditations. We're going to take a break right now and be right back, so don't go away. More than any other request that I get when people come to me, it's always about the mind. How do I make my mind stop? How do I keep from thinking the thoughts I think? And over and over and over this goes. You know, Buddha said it well. He said, a mind no longer seeking to consider what is good and bad. A mind no longer seeking to consider what is right and wrong. That is a clear mind. So what is a clear mind? A mind that is non-judgmental. But how do you get there? The mind judges its own thoughts. You're going to have to go into the cave of your heart, the seat of your heart, and you're going to have to begin to realize something, that you haven't got a thought that's worth thinking. Any thought that's worth thinking will bring you to your heart, and no thoughts bring you to your heart. So how do we get there? Meditation, meditation, meditation. I don't make the rules. I'm just sharing with you what I've found. When you are no longer as fascinated with your thoughts as you once were, when you no longer look at them and go, will you stop it, will you stop it, will you stop it, you start to slow your thoughts down a little bit. My thoughts are in direct proportion to my anger. How much anger I have in me in the form of my fear, my sadness, my pain, my sorrow, will create this little group of people, what I call the judges. And this group of judges thinks one thing, and then it thinks another, and thinks another thing, and then another, and they go around and around and around it with each other, judging this side and this side and this side and this side of every thought. Before you know it, your whole life is spent before the Supreme Court of your own mind. There comes a time, if you are entering into the practice, into the fires of your soul and your heart, that you realize that this is a futile trip. This has to go into the fire also. When you give up the judges, good and bad, right and wrong, all of a sudden, from out of nowhere, you have a clear mind. A mind no longer seeking to consider what is good and bad, right and wrong. Now you get to see something you never saw before, the bigger picture of your own life. And that bigger picture is about only one thing, my darlings. It is about love. Entering into love at all costs to your thoughts is what life is all about. So this week, instead of just going into your life and saying, well, I'm stuck with all the thoughts that I have, what am I going to do? I have all these thoughts. I guess I'll have to let them think me. Stop for a moment. Don't put a lot of energy into your thoughts. Remember the little meditation I gave you in this program. And begin to breathe a little bit. Sit behind your heart. Sit in the cave of your own heart and breathe through it. Soon you will begin to see a new perspective. Your mind is only showing you delusion and illusion. Your heart is trying to show you something more important, the reality of love. Please forgive me, huh? Namaste. Babbling Brook, you're talking too much. Shut up. We want some silence here. You're talking constantly. See, you can't even shut the river up.
Some Messiah you are.
Man, you just can't fix ugly.
Well, there I can see.
We're gonna make magic.
The questions get asked and they spark something in myself. I've spontaneously just burst into tears.
It was a sad and pathetic thing when the mind and the tongue don't. No.
And someone wants to burst into flames, I hear.
We're going for that.
Ready?
Yeah.
I really didn't know the people that well and have since decided I don't really like them.
And never get fat. Yes, it's Shakti water, and I'm the only one in the world that has it.
But I would really love new people to replace them with.
This was the
That'll sell.
Yeah, fresh meat.